Hopefully everybody can hear me, and it's not going to be absolute chaos in a second. Hi! Hi! Ah! How are you doing? This is wild that, so, I guess where to start the spiel?
Well.
Hi, I'm Ian, the Dragonborn Bard, and this show is part of our ongoing series called Painting Up the Monster Manual. This is a D&D one-shot show where we have 1 hour to paint a mini while also I face it against an opponent and they have to beat it or die trying. We are going to attempt to paint the Pit Fiend today, which is a pretty beefy creature. And for those of you who don't know what the Monster Manual is, it is this publication right here. And so far, it's usually myself and a gentleman called Richard from Warrior Prince 3D who have been working our way through this. But unfortunately, Richard couldn't be here today, so we have had to substitute with Steph here.
Hello.
So everyone give it up for Steph. Are you ready to die?
Yes.
Cool. So, the premise, like I said, of this show is we are going to try and paint the Pit Fiend. This is the one that we have here. This is actual size to what the Monster Manual says it should be. However, just so you are aware, the cosplay contest that's going on, there is a Pit Fiend down there that is being given away as part of that cosplay contest. I have also put some dice at the front of the stage because I can't be bothered to roll dice as the Dungeon Master today. I'm just going to worry about trying to record things for YouTube. So, if you want to come up and roll dice at any point, if I call for it, then feel free. Steph has to roll her own dice because she's going to die pretty fast.
I'm responsible for my own fate.
So, one of the things that we do during this show is that I have asked Steph to create, because this is a CR20 creature, which means it is a very, very high-end, dangerous monster. So I've asked her to randomly generate a level 15 character. I have not so far found out anything about this character. This entire combat has to be ad-libbed. So, Steph, have you rolled a level 15 character up?
I have indeed rolled a level 15 character.
Okay, what is your level 15 character, class, and race?
Well, D&D Beyond blessed me with a changeling, Oath of Redemption Paladin, which, for a Pit Fiend, I'm feeling pretty stoked about.
Yeah, so that should work out pretty well for you, and it means that you're not going to die within the first sort of few rounds of combat.
Maybe round 4.
But one of the other things that we like to do is I like to talk about the monster stat block and everything before as a way to hopefully teach something about the monster. Maybe if you're just getting into D&D, maybe if you're just not at those CR20 levels yet, or at the levels at which those monsters, or maybe you've never used that monster before. But let's have a look at the Pit Fiend. So the actual lore entry for the Pit Fiend states that these things are like the arch-generals. They answer directly to the dukes, duchesses, the overlords of the 9 hells. These are your highest generals of the demonic and or fiendish armies. They're usually in the fiendish armies, the devils, but they are big problems. When we look at monster creation and why the CR of the creature is so dangerous, there are 3 things that I like to look at. These are what I call the magic 3. The first one is hit points. The hit points on this creature, rules as written, are 300. Which means that to kill it, Steph needs to deal on her own 300 points of damage to this creature. Now, you don't have to follow rules as written. You could roll them, which is 24d10 plus 168.
That's vile.
Which, you know, we're looking at like 400-ish hit points, if not more. These things are designed to take hits. So that's the first one. We've got a really high HP. The next thing we look at is armor class. This is a 19. So you want to be rolling a 19 to hit. For a CR20 creature, that's actually relatively low when we look at the base CR of a player having in and around the 25 to 30 mark at level 20. Then we look at damage dealing potential. And this is where the fun begins. Because this thing, being a general in the armies of the 9 hells, first of all, it has resistances and immunities to everything that fiends and demons do. And if you don't know what those are, I will advise you to go back and watch a few of the episodes, because we've just finished the demonic episodes on our YouTube. It has innate spell casting of Detect Magic and Fireball at will.
Just cause.
Just gets to cast a 6th level Fireball at will, all the time, anytime it wants. So
Casual.
that's just an action to do that. Cool. And then we have its actual actions, which are things like multi-attack. Multi-attack, usually we think 1 or 2 attacks. This has 4.
for the scene.
It's making 4 attacks per round, which is really chipping the damage away. And when we look at that, we're looking at its bite, which is 4d6 plus 8. Then you need to make a con save. If you don't pass that, you're taking 66 on top of that, which then also has some status effects. After that, we have the claw attack, which deals 2d8. We then have the mace, which deals 2d6 plus 8. And then on top of that, another 66. And tail attack for 3d10. We are looking in the hundreds for damage. This is why these things are so deadly. So what is your HP for your character?
My max HP is 124.
This could be over in one turn.
Yep.
This is going to come down to rolling initiative. This is going to come down to how well you can be prepared. I've given Steph the option of having 2 magic items and all basic stuff up to level 15. So that's all there is to that one. Now, I'm aware that we have 1 hour to paint this, and I need to set a scene, and we are going to go into a ad-lib combat. Obviously, you don't really paint minis either, do you?
No, I'm fairly new to the hobby.
Okay, so for me personally, trying to paint a mini in an hour is ridiculous. Like, nobody does that. We do it. So we're going to be doing a lot of slap sharp, and we're going to talk about how we have got to the point and trying to paint it within the hour while also running this combat. I am going to be doing a hella amount of dry brushing today.
Yep.
I'm going to be going mainly through the reds, and we are going to be doing a lot of detailing under lights that I can't see what I'm doing in. So when I put it on the table later, don't judge me too harshly.
It could look like anything.
It could look like anything. But I guess there's nothing to do but really get to it. So before I hit go on the 1 hour timer, let's set a scene. Do you know what, you said you were a paladin, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so, do you know what god you fall under?
I don't actually.
Make one up.
Let's say the god of, I don't know, Pit Fiend, anti-Pit Fiend.
So we're looking at a good lawful deity. So we'll say Palor, the sun god.
Yeah.
Yep. So designed to fight against demons and devils and stuff like that. So let's have a look at some music. Make sure that's playing. Okay. I'm going to go from there. So, maybe after hours, days, weeks of fighting through the 9 hells, your party, your team, your disciples of Palor have made their way to the very gates of Asmodeus down on the 9th level, the places where you're not supposed to get to. You have beaten lemurs, and you have beaten, which is a monster, not the monkey, and you've beaten all of the different fiends and stuff that have come along there, along with the disciples of the Dark Lord himself. Maybe you've had a break in the line, and you've been able to run forwards, where you see, standing in front of this large, molten rock castle of some kind, this large iron door, this cullis. I think that's the word.
Portcullis.
Portcullis, that's the word. I don't know English very well. And you just see it there. It's 20 foot tall. It's got horns like the devil himself. Who would pass these realms to my lord Asmodeus?
Hi.
What do we see?
You see a kind of silvery skinned, almost elven looking creature with white hair and white eyes, dressed in chainmail, with the symbol of Palor around her neck. Quite small in stature, looks quite lithe, but holds an incredibly large sword that looks far too big for her to carry, realistically. But underneath the chainmail, you can see there is muscle there is a toughness as well.
Okay, so as this guardian of the hells, the guardian of Asmodeus steps forwards, and this bright, happy paladin of radiant beauty steps forward. I will slay you and your divine, disgusting magic. Your god will wish you'd never been born and sent here. I need you to roll initiative for me, please. So I need somebody to roll me a d20, please. If anybody is willing to go there. Connor, I can see you sat there. There should be a d20 right there.
Well, I take a -1 to initiative.
Oh, so low dex there.
So
and I am starting the timer. We have 1 hour to paint. We are off.
So
15.
I got a 16.
Okay, so you've got a 16 on there. And then I with its dex mod of a total of +2, it's going to be going first.
Yeah.
With a 17. So, the timer has started. We have 1 hour. Whether we do this in an hour or not is going to be the thing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some burnt red, and I am just going to, it's called a wet dry brush. I am going to, actually I'm going to grab the black red. Very heavily spray, basically dry brush this all over. What I've done to make this work is I've done what's called a zenith primer. So I've primed it black, and then I sprayed it with white from the top. What I'm hoping that will do is the majority of the work for me being able to paint this really fast. And hopefully, those white sections will look a lot more vibrant and light, whereas the black dark sections, I'm really hoping, are going to look like shadows from the underneath. But this Pit Fiend sees you approaching, it doesn't even take a step, it just clicks its fingers, and you watch a mote of pure orange fire just glide out towards you. It gets to maybe 10 feet away from you and just shink into nothing before whoosh. I need a dexterity saving throw from you, please.
Lovely.
And I'm going to start getting this red onto this mini.
That is a 19.
So a 19, the DC to beat is a 21.
Oh my god.
Do you get any auras or anything from being a paladin?
Not on... oh, actually, I get a +1 bonus on saves, advantage against spells and magical effects within 10 feet.
So this is definitely going up within 10 feet of you because it's got to you, so you can roll with advantage.
I need that natty 20. I get the nat 20!
Hey!
Blessed be Palor.
So, there we go. First nat 20 of the show. So you managed to succeed. So you're going to take half damage on the fireball, which is going to be 8d6 worth of damage.
Ouch.
So if anybody wants to grab 8d6 from the front and roll that up, I wouldn't be upset about that whatsoever. That's it. So you want to grab 8d6. So you see those cubes just over there. So you see so grab all of those ones there. Throw them all in. Now do some maths, because that's what Dungeons & Dragons is.
It's maths and improv.
26 points
Ouch.
of fire damage as this explosive ball of fire engulfs you. For a minute, you have to shield your eyes from this demonic fire, and as it rescinds, tiny human elf, come here to face me. It is then going to, as a movement action, step up to you, brandishing this huge, ugly mace. It is your go.
Okay, so how far away is he from me currently?
You are now in melee range.
Fabulous. In that case, I'm going to crack things off with I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling angry that I've been misidentified as a human. How dare you? And I am going to unsheath my greatsword, holding it with 2 hands, and I am going to make my first attack at him.
Okay. How many attacks do you get as a paladin at level 15?
I get 2 attacks.
Okay.
So the first is a 19.
A 19 is its armor class. That is going to hit.
Fabulous.
So let's roll some damage on that first.
So first off, it's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 11 points of damage off the bat.
Okay, is this a magical weapon?
It is.
Okay, so this Pit Fiend is resistant to all attacks not made with a magical weapon. So you have to have a magical weapon for that to go through. The 11 points of damage go through.
So with this weapon as well, I also get the benefit of 2d10 radiant damage against fiends and undead.
Okay, so roll that 2d10.
That's not a d10. Where's my d10 gone? That's 7 points of radiant damage.
7 points of radiant damage, which it is not resistant to. So I'm going to mark that one there. And are you pumping any more things into this?
I am. I'm also putting in my Divine Smite, which is improved because I am at level 15.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 3d8. That's 6, 12, 16 points of a radiant damage. Smite!
And how's it look when you do your radiant damage? How does it look when you smite this fiend?
So I think as the blade connects, I think hitting against the flesh of this pit fiend, there's like this searing pulse of almost like sunlight, like just a burst, flashing for a moment and then it dissipates. So it's not a lingering effect, but it's a quick, hot, white burst of energy.
Okay, and like you slice into this pit fiend. Your divine, disgusting magic does not belong here. As it recoils from your attack, this god of righteousness versus the god of lies champion. Is there anything else you can do on your turn? Although I've already forgotten a rule, because at the start of your turn, I should have had you make a saving throw, because there is a fear or infect, so that's on me for forgetting that.
I'm actually immune to fear effects.
So we're going to ignore it. But normally, the Pit Fiend has an aura that anybody who starts their turn within 20 feet must make a wisdom save of DC 21, or they are frightened until the start of its next turn, which means that they can't then approach it and things like that, which is a very useful tool for a GM to have against melee class fighters.
Absolutely.
So, is there anything else from this paladin's turn?
I think that's everything from me this round.
Okay, so you smite in and cause this hella amount of damage that just and it just recoils in pain. So far with the mini, I'm at a point where I've got the majority of the base coating now done, and I can only really show this to the camera, so we'll have to see it after this for that. But we now have that nice brown, dark red on there. This is my base coat. This is going to be where you can see the difference in the highlights. You can see the black underneath. There is one part I can't get to with that particular brush on the back of the wings, so I'm just going to go into there with that. And again, I don't need to be neat with this. This is quite literally a slap chop effect where I am throwing paint on it, and I want it to be somewhat uneven and mottled because I want it to be those deeper layers. But on its go, it brandishing this vile mace. It looks at you. It is gonna make its 4 attacks.
Ouch.
So, yeah, I can see like the look on that face there. It gets a multi-attack of 4. Connor, do you want to grab a D20? Does anybody want to grab a D20 and roll this one up? The first one is gonna be its bite. So let me know what you roll. 7 plus 14 for a dirty 20.
Yeah, that hits.
So that hits. Okay, so this deals 4d6 plus 8. This is going to do you 16 points of bludgeoning damage.
Ow.
Sorry, this is a bite. That's piercing damage.
Ow.
Then I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, please.
Natural 20 for 23.
Another natural 20!
Woo!
We are smashing those out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you pass. You are not going to take any poison damage, and you are not poisoned. It bites in. Whoosh! Maybe like you managed to like defend yourself enough that the armor takes most of that hit, so none of that poison goes through to you. It then comes in with this massive claw swipe. That is going to be, and I'm going to roll this one on here, an 18 to hit.
That hits.
Ooh, low armor class for a paladin.
Yeah, it's because my weapon, I traded out my shield.
Okay, so we've got 2d8 of damage coming in here. That is going to be 18 points of slashing damage.
Ow.
Okay. We are up next with the next big weapon. So, let's grab.
Them hits just keep coming.
Does a 27 hit?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is bad. This is very, very bad. So, this is going to deal 18 points of bludge damage.
Ouch.
Then, as it strikes into you, the actual mace itself glows, and he's like, I can smite too. And he basically pumps in pure molten iron against your metal armor.
Oh,
You are going to take 19 points of fire damage.
this is not looking good.
How's your health looking at this point?
Pretty low.
Yeah, what are you on?
27.
27. Well, don't worry, because we could kill you here.
Yeah.
This is going to be the final attack. This is a tail attack. I want somebody else to roll it, because if this is a crit,
Indeed.
I would love it to be a thing. So if somebody wants to grab a d20 and roll this one up, here we go. 10 plus a 14 for a 24.
Miss it. Oh, 24? 24? Yeah, of course 24 gets it.
Okay, here we go. Come on, roll high, baby. 28.
Oh, I'm down.
Okay, so we are already down. That is how quick and how bad this monster is. It is designed to kill things. Even paladins are not immune to the love of a Pit Fiend. So, you are currently down, yes?
Yeah.
Right. It has no more attacks. It has no more actions it can do on this turn. Therefore, at the top of the round, at the start of your go even, bear in mind this is round 2. I would like you to make a death saving throw, please.
I think it's going to be a short show, this.
It's all right, we get to paint for the rest of it.
That's a fail.
That is 1 saving throw down. We have 2 saving throws left.
Yeah.
As this thing picks you up in its hands, your sword maybe lands on the floor, it is going to just try and claw you apart.
I don't like this version of Uppies.
Here we go. So, I have advantage on this because you are technically unconscious. So, please, somebody roll it up. You get to roll twice and take the higher number. There are a few spots of red on here that I'm just making sure are clear. 12, did you roll twice yet? Awesome. So 12 plus 14 is a normal hit, it's not a crit. However, it is a melee attack on an unconscious creature, which automatically makes it a critical hit. Which means that following our crit rules, I get to deal max damage, which is 2d8 plus 8, which is 16, 24, I believe. And then I get to roll again.
Yep.
Plus 17. What's your max hit points?
124.
Okay, so you take the 2 death saves, and unfortunately, what are the last thoughts of your character as they are sundered in two by this Pit Fiend?
I think the last image that she sees is the sun setting as Paylor's light and blessing vanishes along with her life.
And with that, we see the chainmail is just ripped apart, legs are separated from body as Ica of Elf goes everywhere, and it forms this beautiful symbol of Asmodeus, Lord of the Nine Hells. Well, that's the combat over.
Right, cool.
So, and that's the premise of this show, is that we are trying to show you how deadly a monster can be in D&D, especially when you are maybe a new dungeon master, or maybe you are somebody who is only just getting into it and you think, oh, that looks cool, let's throw that against them. Or they're really high level and you throw something lower against them. And even at a CR15 Paladin, that's how quick that one was.
I think it also goes to show why you should never split the party.
And that also helps. So the action economy here, which is something that we talk about in Dungeons and Dragons a lot, is really what makes this creature dangerous. Because usually when we have a big combat, you have at least a party of 4. They're getting 4 attacks. The creature's usually getting 1 or 2, or a decent ability. But this thing is having 4 attacks, which means that for your 1-2, it's doubling your action economy. Which is just, it levels the playing field for a party, but one-on-one, it's just not feasible.
Not happening.
But it can make for some amazing pit fights. It can make for some amazing different things that you can throw at your party. Say, for example, they might be on a demonic plane, or they could be in a battle arena of some kind. And I think for me, that's what I really like these characters and these demons and stuff for. They are very, very fun. I mean, you could throw this in as a BBG, like a big bad guy in a campaign. And you've played a lot of Dungeons & Dragons.
I have indeed. Some would argue too much.
You know, we get about with it.
Yeah.
And I think that even you and I both having played a lot of D&D, this is one of those monsters where we were like, this is going to be over so fast that let's just make a laugh of it.
Yeah.
So how's your mini going?
Redly.
Are you going for like a full base coat? Are you going for...
I'm going for a full base to start with, and then I'm going to lay it on over the top, just because I think it'll be easier for me to see where I'm going and make choice about sort of detail on colours and things.
And how many minis over your years would you say you've painted?
6.
So, and this is kind of something that I want to show the community at large, that you don't have to be painting minis for years and years and years. You don't have to be worried about getting into D&D, like, oh, but I don't paint. The point and the premise is that, like, anybody can do this, and you don't need to be the best painter. As long as you throw some paint on it, get it to a level that you're happy with, and we call that tabletop ready. And yeah, if we can do this in an hour, which, you know, we've still got at least 50 minutes on, is something that shows that you don't need to necessarily throw in all of that time, because sometimes I don't have the time. Sometimes you guys will roll up an encounter at the end of a session, and then I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. I now need to come up with something here and then. And that is where I think this show kind of came from, is the fact that I was needing to paint minis up on the fly there and then. So I am just looking for any spots that I've left from the Zenith that could be white, because I just don't want any of those. After that, I'm going to move to the next red. I will probably do 2 layers of red, and then I will probably do an orange to really bring out that fiery hot look. Do you have an idea of how you're going to go?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be my one base that I'm going to do, just because I, obviously not being quite so experienced, I do just kind of want to get the main bits on. I think I'm going to start giving him like some red hot abs.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll. I might then start looking at his. Is that a mace, Morningstar?
It is a mace.
And give that a little bit of pimping.
Yeah. And what I really like, so dry brushing is a technique where you don't need to be really precise. You don't need to have like all of this like fine lines or fine details. It is quite literally throw some paint on a big brush, and these are like makeup brushes that I use. Like they're £1 from Superdrug, and then you take most of it back off of your paintbrush with a bit of tissue, and then you just start going all over it. Usually you would follow it if you were trying to highlight from top to bottom, but if you're doing a wet dry brush, which is quite a weird thing to say, it's wet and dry at the same time, but it's just like a heavier brush, and that I just try and do all over to really get into those areas. But I'm gonna let the primer, the black and the white, do most of the heavy lifting for me. So, that costume is amazing. So, I'm actually gonna close D&D Beyond because I no longer need it.
Yep.
There we go.
Done and done.
I'm actually gonna move that as well because I realized that that one can't see you. So I'm now gonna move up from the darkened reds, and I'm gonna move up to a dirty red. This is gonna be my second layer. Then after that, I will probably come in with some browns on the horns or the mace before we start using some metallics.
Ooh.
At this point, so, I mean, has anybody faced a Pit Fiend or anything like that in the past? You faced Tiamat! Wow!
Oh.
And you lived to tell the tale, sir? No? Wow, that is some pretty dark D&D. So for this next level of dry brushing, I'm taking a bit more off. So whereas before I was leaving these quite heavy areas, now I am taking it to a point where it looks more like a makeup would if you were trying to sponge it off.
Yeah.
And I am only going downwards with it now. So I'm hitting it from the top and coming down for that dry brush effect where light would be coming from. And this is going to give me a very quick, very easy difference in colors and textures. Hopefully, in a minute, when I come back at the bottom of the wings, I will probably use a purple to add some depth to those.
Fancy pants.
Yeah, it kind of is. So have you faced a Pit Fiend before?
We haven't. We actually nearly made friends with one in our last 5e campaign.
Really?
It was very heavily Hells orientated, so we were convinced we were going to come up against a Pit Fiend. We saw a few, but I was playing a Grave Domain Cleric, and
Nice.
we just hit level 15, and so I had a really, really handy little trick that actually managed to bounce them back to the Hells.
Is that with a banishment spell?
No, it was. I can't remember what it was called now, but it's basically like a huge banishment. It's a bonus action. I have to find what it was actually because it was absolutely insane. My DM did not enjoy it very much because it was like massively OP. D&D Beyond. But yeah, we held up quite a lot of demons and fiends and things. And we did meet Asmodeus briefly.
Really?
He popped in to say hello, but
Nice.
thankfully he was on our side, which was a nice change.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there's one person in the 9 hells that you want on side, it is probably the Lord of the Devils himself.
Yeah. I did make an enemy of Levistus, though, so not ideal.
There's a lot to be said about that. So I am now going to start grabbing a few different oranges, and I'm going to start blending some colours. So I don't need much. I'm probably just going to grab a light rust, which, again, these are all just acrylic paints. You can get them from most hobby stores. And I'm going to mix that with our dirty red, just to kind of lighten it up, give it a slight warm tone to it, add those yellows back in. And that way we're going to start seeing real difference and depth on those minis. And hopefully it will be one of the last things that I need to do before we start moving on to the details. And that is actually the first time I've washed a brush this entire session. Because what I like about dry brushing is you can mix them together as you're going through it, and it just adds to that blending. And yeah, it's all basic technique, but do what you can.
Yeah.
That's kind of all there is to it. So again, I'm going to use a flat edge brush, and I'm going to come in from the top, but I'm only going to pick out the very tops of the mini now, like shoulders, tops of the wings, tops of the thigh muscles, maybe the hands, the face. We're going to grab all those areas that are going to draw the eye. And again, we're going to come down in a singular motion where we are just going from the top to the bottom on those areas that I've just mentioned. And so, when was the last time you played in a D&D campaign, or are you still playing in a D&D campaign?
Still playing in a D&D campaign, yeah. I've got my regular weekly group. We've been playing together for about nearly 4 years now.
Nice.
Which is lovely, and yeah, we're in sort of like our second campaign, so to speak.
Nice.
I'm also playing in a little short form campaign with the Band of Badgers stream.
Yeah.
Which we're actually streaming tonight as well. So I'm going to be doing a lot of D&D today.
Where can people watch that stream? If
People can find it on Band of Badgers on Twitch, and it is called A Deadly Quest. So much like this today, lots of dungeon delving, lots of like high-level encounters, and political intrigue, which has been really fun.
Yes, and Ross, who's the GM for that, is a friend of ours that I've met a few times through doing either cons or going up to London where they live, and he's written this entire campaign, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's so cool. He's done a really, really smashing job with it.
Yeah, so it's worth checking out. It's very, very fun. And that's on twitch.tv/Band of Badgers. So that'll be at 9 o'clock tonight.
Yep, 9 o'clock
Amazing.
tonight, British Standard.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube in like 5 weeks' time when this particular episode comes out, good luck.
Check socials.
Yeah, check YouTube out.
How about yourself? Are you currently 5Eing or?
Yeah, so we play, again with Band of Badgers, I play in a Dragonlance campaign with them. We're back during September. I also, I GM the Dragonborn Industries Starfinder show, which we're actually doing a live full canon episode of tomorrow here on the stage, which is not me killing the players in 2 rounds. It's an actual story-driven game rather than a paint show, and I'm really looking forward to that. But we're going to be bringing some more D&D to the show. We're going to be bringing Bloodpunk in November, I believe, which is a vampire-themed steampunk setting, which I think is going to be very fun. So just for now, I'm now taking that kind of reddy orange, and I'm coming in over the shoulder muscles, the pectorals, the face, tops of the wings, and the back muscles. I'm just going to bring it up bit by bit.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do the base mostly red as well,
Yeah.
because it's the 9 hells. Why wouldn't it have red
Why?
sands and
Exactly.
barren wasteland? So luckily, for such a demonic being or such a devilish being, I don't need to do too much in the way of detailing today, because
Just red.
stage lights be warm.
Stage lights be warm. I also keep tilting it and going, I missed a bit. Oh, I missed a bit.
Please don't judge us later when we can't see, but this will be on the table at the end when we are all done. So that one is there. I'm just going to go a little bit more orange, just a little bit more orange.
Just a little bit.
And so far, I mean, that is 5 colours used, and most of that has been mixing between those ones there. I will probably throw some yellow into the eyes, because I find that yellow really pops off of red and orange quite nicely, and it gives you that drawing the eye to the monsters and to the devilish nature that they are. I will probably add some metallics like an iron or a bronze to the mace, and then we need to do some brown and bone on the horns. So What is your favorite race and class for D&D then?
Ooh.
What are you a sucker for?
Oh, do you know what? I love a Genasi, or a Ganassi, or a Gunununusi, however you pronounce it. I absolutely love the flavouring of it, and I love that now you've got like, because there's so much freedom with how you can optimise your background and your heritage and everything. So I'm currently playing, she's statted as a water Genasi, but she's water and earth combined, so it's quite coastal look with kind of like, she's got barnacles all over her and like quite sandy skin and things, and I love the flavour that you can get from it. I'm a sucker for anything elemental.
Nice.
But yeah, class-wise, honestly, I keep gravitating towards the support classes, so like cleric, bard, paladin, I'm all about it.
Yeah, and I actually am inclined to agree with you on that one. So my favourite races is, it's a mix between Dragonborn and Halfling. They are my go-to races. But when it comes to classes, a lot of people really like those high damage paladins, fighters, wizards when you get to high levels, and I adore those classes. But I like to play those in a support role.
Yeah.
I really like, it takes me back to like early Final Fantasy when you have the white mage, the red mage, and the black mage, and you start seeing those differences between just healing or just evocation and offensive magic, or being able to buff people. And I love the idea that your paladins, your barbarians, who are already dealing crazy amounts of damage, and you can be like, there you go, buddy, add some more to it.
Have a little extra juice.
Like things like College of Swords with Bard, like adding Bardic Inspiration at high level to damage rolls for like
Absolutely
those big classes.
incredible.
Whoo boy, I love it. But yeah, cleric stuff like that, I'm a sucker for. So yeah, I'm the same with you. I quite like a support class. And here's a question for you: if people were just getting into D&D, if people were just beginning to miniature paint, if people were starting to find these hobbies, these communities, what would be your advice to them as somebody who has been a player, has been a dungeon master, been a game master?
I think it would be open to things, but also know your own boundaries and know when to say no. I think that's the most important thing. Like, you might not find your ideal group the first time.
Yeah.
If you do, amazing. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with walking away from a table that's not right for you. And it might not even be anything necessarily bad. It just might be that your play style's different, or
Chemistry.
exactly. You might want something a little bit more RP based rather than combat based, and that is absolutely fine. And I think a lot of newbies can find it quite hard to know to step away, and it's absolutely fine. You can try before you buy. You can kind of play the field, see what works for you. And I think there's so many cool streams and games and actual plays out there that it can be tempting to kind of think, oh well, I'm never going to be able to do that. But the main thing is, as long as you're having fun, that's what you need to be doing.
And that is the point, is these games are designed to be fun. They are designed to be that you get the books, maybe get a mini, maybe get some dice, and you are supposed to just enjoy your time with them. And if you get to the point where you're not enjoying it, you're either not with the right group, or you just maybe need to find a different system. And that's fine, that's totally fine. You're not always going to get on with everything. For me, I think that is one of the key things. It's all about everybody having fun at the table. And I know that sessions like this, if you get killed in 2 rounds in a real game of D&D, you're going to be pretty disheartened.
Yeah.
However, Steph can take it. This is a little show just to show you how deadly something can be. But go have fun with it. That is the main thing. And I think one of the greatest rules that was ever said to me was like, you know, the books themselves, it's all in good they've got rules and people follow them and they know them like the back of their hand. But actually, if you don't know a rule at the time, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just rule in favor of the player and then work it out afterwards.
Absolutely.
Because that way everybody's happy and you keep the game moving. And I think that for me is a big thing. Now I'm going to try and paint some eyes. Which,
You sure?
I'm sure I can find it somewhere. I'm going to hold it up to the light like this. Here we go. So, actually, this is a good technique. So this is what was told to me a while ago. When you're painting something like eyes, is to come in slowly and do the brush stroke before you actually get to the mini. That way, when you get to the mini, you're usually in the right place for the tip of the brush. And this is where I'm going to mess this up after I've said that. With my shaky hands. There we go. And again, we're going to come in from the other side. There we go. So, That one just need a little tidy up just there. I'm just going to use some blank water just to pull away any excess that I've made. And that is the start of the ice going, hey! We have glue, it's okay.
That's why I didn't glue mine on.
That means I can paint the base separately as well. But that's going to happen, and that's fine. So.
I'm just going to go over with a little bit of orange. Ooh, hello.
Hello.
And give him a little bit of definition on his musculus.
So I'm going to try and show this off to the camera so that if people are watching on YouTube in about 5 weeks' time, they should be able to see what's going on. So that's so far for anybody who might be watching this later on that's here in the room with us. This video will go up onto our YouTube channel, which is Dragonborn Industries, and it's in the Painting Up the Monster Manual playlist. For those of you who are watching on YouTube right now, hi! But this is where we are currently at. So we can see that we've got those differences in muscles. We've let the dry brushing do all the work for the shadows. Realistically, I'm not far away from being done. I'm probably going to let that dry for a minute while I then come in and attack the base now that the mini's fallen off it, and I can re-glue that one in a moment. I'm going to try and come in with some darker colors again, just to give us that separation, because although I've used one main color for this entire mini, now I need to separate the ground that it's on with the mini itself so that you are really getting that differential between the two of them. And that's going to be important to make players and yourself have a more immersive time around the table, which is kind of what we want from these games. These games are designed to be mostly done in our mind and be imaginative, be storytelling, be very visual to us. So if we can make that more immersive for the players, be that with terrain, be that with painting, be that with descriptions, that is the aim of what we do, especially as storytellers. And I like immersion.
Yeah. And, you know, immersion comes in different forms for different people, but I think the format has come so far, even in the last, 5 years, what you can do with D&D, you know, whether you're playing online or you're playing in person, you have amazing resources. You've got so many online tools you can use, as well as, you know, miniatures. And I mean, we've got to give a shout out to Rich at Warrior Prince 3D,
yes,
who printed these little guys. And I believe Happy Piranha have some of his stock as well.
They do indeed.
And yeah, you can get so many cool things. And yeah, I mean, I've always been theatre of the mind mostly, but since starting to paint minis a little bit more, I'm like, quite like this.
I will admit, as a game master, there is an arrogance in something that I like, which is when you bring a map out or some minis, and your players are like, whoa!
It's because you always bring out the best maps.
You humble me, kind lady.
Even after you killed me.
Actually, that's something for people who are getting into D&D and stuff like that. Obviously, today we've only really seen combat. We've not really seen anything else for it. A lot of the D&D stuff is about role play.
Yeah.
It's about playing your character, about play pretend. And a lot of people out there think that you have to do an accent, you have to do descriptions like they're a movie or like they're a book. But you don't have to. You can describe it in third person. You can describe it in a way that's comfortable for you, because you need to be comfortable playing these games, which is what comes back to you saying about the right group or finding the right people. And for me personally, Steph plays with us in a campaign every Monday, which we stream in Starfinder, and Steph is a very descriptive player. But that doesn't mean that everybody around that table is like that.
No.
And we actually see that everyone's got such a different play style, and it's just being accepting of that, and it's really fun to see that kind of happen.
Yeah, it's fun though, because even though everyone's got a different style, it meshes and it works well together, which is really cool, because it doesn't always, but yeah, it's a nice little mix of everything. I'm really digging this orange.
Which orange is that? The rust one?
Yeah, I really like it. I'm happy with the blend I'm getting on that.
So I am diving deep trying to find me some purple. I used to have these all organised. Pretty sure that's the best one we're going to get. So what I'm attempting to do now is, now that we've got most of the reds in there, I need to find a colour that is dark, that is shadowy, that's going to come in from the underside of the mini, especially on the wings themselves, because we really want those to be daunting. We want them to be a point of interest where we can see a different technique, and also that you are going to see a contrast of colours. So yeah, it's a case of trying to bring that purple in from the underneath so that we get that, interest to it without needing to do too much. So what we should see, and you can't really see it under the blue light, is that I'm just bringing it up.
Okay.
And then once I've done that, I will dry brush again with the top coat that we did last and come back in from the top, and that should hopefully blend it together enough that people will be happy with it.
Yeah, it's alright.
And again, as long as you are happy with it yourself, and you're happy that that's your representation of it for the table, that's all that matters. It really is. How are you getting on with yours?
Yeah, all right. I was a little bit worried at first, but I'm happy with how it's coming together.
You've got about 20 minutes.
I'm not going to finish, but I'm having a good time.
So this is a good thing, because we're obviously trying to get a mini tabletop ready within the hour. Do you think you will achieve that?
Do you know what? I think I can get an estimation of it. I think so, yeah. Because as you say, he's mostly covered, and it would just be any fine details you can go in and work at another day.
Okay, so, and there is a variation on tabletop ready. It's whether you spend an hour painting a mini or, you know, several days painting a mini. It doesn't matter as long as you're happy with it. You don't need to be a pro painter. You don't need to be any of these things that I think are very daunting when you first get into the hobby. And I think we compare ourselves so much to things like Instagram and Facebook, and we see all people posting these amazing pictures and these amazing different things that you're like, oh God, I'll never paint like that. You don't need to. You do you. And it's more than enough. So I am now taking some burnt tin, which is like a brown metallic, and I am going to come into this mace just here. I'm using quite a big brush because I don't need to do anything more. What I am going to try and do though is be a bit more careful to not go past and onto the handle. Now what should happen is, with this being a nice heavy layer, is it should really show up against the reds. And then I can highlight it with some silvers and some scratch marks to really bring it out in a whole other way. Do you know what colour you're going to do your metallics?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to use this brown for the handle, because I quite want it to be sort of like wooden contrast, and then I think a proper like, yeah, I think a big silver on that, a big shiny, terrifying one.
Yeah. That's all right. Right, so...
What's your favourite weapon in D&D?
What's my favourite weapon?
Yeah.
See, now, I am all about spell casting. So for me, it's probably spell components. And I am a sucker for actually not having an arcane focus and actually having the components.
Using the components. Yes, I love that.
And like, we can talk about the big show, like Crit Roll.
Yeah.
And like, a prime example of this is Liam O'Brien, who, when he played Caleb Widogast, literally went in and like saw the spell components and created a story around each time that he used them, like having things like the cocoon, having things like the copper wire, and how he used that in his spell casting as a wizard. Mwah! I adore that.
Yeah, that was absolute peak. Because we've got a home rule where we don't need to actively look for components unless they have a monetary cost.
Yeah.
Which I love. But I love kind of going, right, I've got this spell, so if I'm in this environment, like say I need, you know, a fistful of sand, we're at the beach, I'll pocket some.
Yeah.
So I've got it to use for future.
And that's the thing, because I mean, you can get spell components as standard in D&D, and I agree, you don't have to follow all the rules as such, and that's one of the ones where it's like, sometimes rations, sometimes things like travel, it can get a bit boring. Not everything in the game is for everybody. And yeah, spell components, it's one of those things where unless it's got a monetary cost, then I think that you're right. It's, you know, you don't have to do all of those things. How about you? What's your favorite weapon?
I love a flail.
Oh.
I know it's really niche, but give me a farming weapon, I'm anyone's.
Oh, take my pitchfork!
Exactly. You can take the girl out of Cornwall, but you can't take the girl out the girl.
So I've always wanted to play just a 7 HP commoner and try and get through an entire campaign with just 7 HP.
I love that. I mean, you wouldn't, but I
no,
love it.
you wouldn't make it past the rats at the start of the game, but it's just one of those things I'm like, man, I want to try that. Okay, so I now have, and I'll show that up to a camera here, the brown is on the weapon, and I'm going to come in with some highlights in a minute on that one. I now need to do the horns and those spikes. So I'm probably going to grab, at this point, a brown or a black, and then just dry brush that on. And in fact, actually, I've got a very dark grey that I'm a big fan of, which is from the AK range of paints, and it is the Tenebrous Grey. And it's a very like necromantic cloak kind of black grey. I'm a big fan of that. So I'm gonna come back in with a dry brush. This has been most of what today is, trying to get painted as quick as possible. Oh, we've got less than 20 minutes. How you doing?
I'm going to go hunting for some silver.
Oh, all on this side. Probably
amazing.
that one there.
Look at that. It's like you know what you've got.
That's why you need to organise your paints. But yeah, so do you think that's the quickest you've ever died in D&D before?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you suffered character death before?
I have. I got revived, but it was touch and go. Very nearly lost. Technically, yes. My bard was killed in Curse of Strahd, but he kind of was very much like it was a really interesting party dynamic. So he ended up actually becoming a bride of Strahd.
Wow,
which was really cool. That was really good fun to play. So yes, technically I did, but then I carried on.
I know that. Like he becomes a bride of Strahd. It's just like, you know what? If you're gonna go.
Yeah. What a way to go.
Hell yeah. So I am now taking this Tenebrous Grey, and I am trying to come down on the top of the horns, and there's like a crown of spikes that are on top of this mini's head that, again, you're not going to see it up here from down there, but we will put it on the stand afterwards so that you guys can see how we've painted within an hour. And I'm just trying to re-darken those areas. I'm trying to make the red the body color, and I'm trying to bring back those bone colors, those dark colors that we would have for the horns.
I'm now realizing in certain lights that I've already got a little bit of like rust on my mace, but I'm going to embrace that, and I'm going to make it all kind of like bloodied and battle hardened.
Oh, so how do you think you're going to achieve that?
I'm not going to go too much over like where I've already done a little bit, but I think I'm going to just take a little bit of that rust brown and flick it on a little bit.
Oh, so I don't have a toothbrush that I would normally do that with. I would get some very wet paint and I would flick it with my thumb, and that would be one of the ways I would achieve that effect. Otherwise, you could mottle it on with a sponge, or you could take something like a dry brush and you could then stipple it on, which is like little tiny dabs. That's a fantastic way of doing it. I think that's awesome. I'm probably not going to do that because I'm now worried that we're running out of time, and I really want to get this finished within the hour. I don't think I failed at that many during this show. So we've done this for, so far we're on 47 episodes so far. And although this one's from a bit further down the line, so we've got time to record it and edit it, it's a case that I think only 3 or 4 minis I haven't finished in time. So
nice.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how we get on. It's quite a big one. It's not really like a mini, is it? It's like a maxi mini.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not painting that one.
Yeah, and I don't think when you showed me that one, I was like, oh, we're not painting that, are we?
No, but people can win that. That's going to be part of the cosplay contest. So if you've not already signed up, go over there. It's £2, and there's a dice that I've made. That's from Richard, who sponsors this particular show. There are so many cool cosplays out there that I've seen so far today, and yeah, go take part in the contest.
Yeah, everyone looks amazing today.
Yeah, well done you.
Woo!
You are phenomenal people. So, we have messy eyes, but that will do for that particular bit there. Did you say you had a silver out?
Yeah, it's just here.
Okay, so I'm now going to grab some silver, and what I'm going to do with that is the same thing, but I'm going to be stippling it onto the actual mace head.
Yeah.
And that way, hopefully, we'll get that nice, grimy, dirty, poisonous look of like the burnt tin meets the steel. Now, I need to be careful at this point, even though we're doing slap chop, which is very much like throwing paint on with big brushes. We do not want to get this now onto his body, onto their wings. We want it to be a little bit neater at this point. I'm also going to get the pommel at the top there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one where it is for now, and then I'm going to come back in on the base with a few different things because we've got not long now.
Woo!
So let's grab a very bright red. So if I had longer, I would probably use things like pigment dust, I would use inks, I would really spend hours, maybe days on a mini. I don't have that kind of time anymore. I have minutes, hours if that, when it's comes to like every week when you guys roll like an encounter on Starfinder, I'm like, well, I guess I'm printing and painting a mini this week, as well as doing my regular work. And it's, but it's fun, and that's what I enjoy. That's why you don't need to be a pro painter. You don't need to like have like the perfect thing. Just throw some paint. Just have a little fun. Just enjoy yourself with it a bit.
Yeah.
If your players are on the table like, I'm not fighting that, it's not painted very well, you're playing with the wrong people. It's not who you want to play with.
Oh, the temptation to give him sparkly toenails is overwhelming.
Do it. We got metallic colours. It's your mini.
Yeah.
If you want to give them sparkly
I'm
toesies,
gonna
you
make
give
him the prettiest princess at the party.
Yes. You imagine that, like they come out and they're like, "Oh, I will destroy all of you." But he's got the most iridescent pink toenails.
Don't chip my mani-pedi.
Yeah. You know what? We've got to like different things, and that's kind of, I like that. But isn't that what D&D is all about?
Absolutely.
Really? It's just expressionism. And like, I love those ad-lib things that are in the moment, those random things that we come up with on a weekly basis that is just nonsense. It's just us being absolute children around the table. It's amazing. I should just, everybody go try just letting loose.
Yeah, it is.
Have a chaos character.
It's a good escapism, isn't it?
It's a phenomenal escapism. So I now have, there are all these tiny little skulls all over the base.
Oh, the base, I forgot about that.
And since I don't have long, I'm going to try and find a smaller brush, and I'm going to try and get some bone color on there. So we've got a... Ooh. I don't think I'm going to have a smaller one than that. That's going to have to do as we attempt to get in there with that. Oh, where are my colors? There we go. Around 10 minutes.
Oh.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually, now I've started putting on some sort of like details, and that brown has really brought out some of the almost like turkey nature of those wings a little bit.
Love it. I'm finally going to have to change up my tissue.
Oh my
it's
God.
finally died a death.
R.I.P. tissue.
Oh well. So, and I do want this to be a dry brush. So sometimes people will suggest to you to use tissue, to use A4 paper, to use wet brushes, like wet them slightly, then dry them, like wipe them on there. I want this to be quite chalky. I want these bones to be old. I want them to look well trodden. I want them to be ancient. So I'm gonna add some of my bone color to my palette. I've then added it to the makeup brush, and I'm quite literally taking it to a point where you can barely see it. We really want to come in light on this one. I'm going to find those tiny little skulls, and we're just going to hit the tops of those with a little bit of color, just to make them as slightly different from the rest of the red base. That way we've got a little bit more interest in there, a little bit more... What's the word I'm looking for?
Depth.
Depth and point of interest, I
Yeah.
guess, is what we're after here.
Or have we got more paper towel anywhere?
Yeah, we've got loads of it down here.
Smash them.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, let's boost it up.
So this is where we start getting to the end of the hour, Richard and I, when we normally do this show, and we're like, oh God! This is, what's even worse is like we get to like a point like this where we're like, you know what? That could be tabletop ready. And then we go, but I might try something. And then it just ruins everything we've done for the entire hour. So, we bring in a bit of a heavier tint to some of those domes of the skulls, the craniums, to really kind of set it off. If I had more time, I might add a pigment paint to like really sit like a wash into some of those cracks and crevices. And I really like there's a set of paints from Green Stuff World that when they dry, it looks like you've used a pigment powder. And they are really, really great for things like bases. But for the time being, that will have to do for my base.
That's
So,
buttery biscuit base.
buttery biscuit base. Ah. Okay, I'm going to try and get some of the teeth on this beast. I'm just going to try and get that snarl, the tops of those horns. And now at this point, I'm just adding a little bit here and there where the light would catch. And all that's going to do is just give us those extra points of interest that should stand out on the mini. I think, minus those dark bits at the bottom there on the toes. Did you go for the glamorous toes?
I did!
I love it. Where's my colour? There it is. Right. We get the last of those toe claws. I'm keeping mine pretty standard.
Yep.
And that, I would say, is tabletop acceptable. What do I mean by tabletop acceptable? I've thrown some paint on it. It roughly simulates the mini. It doesn't need to be perfect. I could put that on the table now, and the players would know what they're fighting. How are you? How are you getting on? Oh, my voice is going.
No, I'm actually. He's come together quite well. I'm just like you, it's whacking a little bit of that bone colour onto a couple of skelly boys. As you say, bringing that point of interest. But I'm actually quite pleased with how he's ending up.
So from my perspective, which under these lights, I know we've got a lot of red and blue behind us, I can see like a lot of vibrant colour on there. And for somebody who's maybe painted 6 minis in their life over the course of the past 4 months,
yeah,
you're doing phenomenally well, and I'm really enjoying seeing like.
I really like the mace.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that you've like put that on there, and it goes to show that you don't need to have been painting for years to do this. You're like,
no. And to be honest, it was you who got me hooked on it when we painted our minis for Starfinder.
Yeah.
And it was that probably about 2 minutes in, I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, I like this a lot.
Yes, it certainly goes that way. See, this is where, like, with only a few minutes left, I look at the base and I go, maybe I'll just add a little bit more.
A little bit on it.
This is where it's going to get dangerous. I'm going to take some dark brown at this point. And what I will also do is I will put these pictures up on social media. So this will go onto our Instagram and our Blue Sky and all of the others, which we've got QR codes for over on our stand over there. And feel free to go check those out and see them in details if you're not hanging around after the show. But yeah, we will make sure that these all go up on socials, especially for those who are going to be watching on YouTube later down the line when this one releases where it belongs in the series, so that you can see the work that we've done today. Oh, actually, there we go. That's something I've forgotten. Something I like to do with minis, actually, is when we get to the end product, I like to put a black rim around the base.
Ooh.
Which
Cheeky.
I think just gives you a little bit of separation between the map and the mini,
Yeah.
so it really stands out on the table when you place them down. So I'm going to grab my black. We've got not long at all. Do you reckon you'll be done?
I reckon I'll be done. I reckon I can do it.
It's not bad.
When the lights go, they'll probably like, oh my god, there's a whole bit I missed. But under the stage lights, it looks fine.
Judge us under the stage lights, don't judge us on anything else. Luckily tomorrow we're only playing a game when we're not painting. But it's been an absolute pleasure to do this today. So I'm almost there. I'm actually using the side of the brush rather than the tip, and I'm just coming around so that it doesn't go past the lip. And we get that nice thick black line around the base of the mini. I think this is a tip I picked up when I was wargaming, so things like Star Wars Legion and Warhammer and things like that, to really give your armies that definition, that separation from the table. So we're getting that nice thick black line around there. I'm going to say I'm done.
I'm also done.
We beat the hour.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. With a grand total of 6 minutes left, we beat the hour. So, the Pit Fiend, a CR20 monster in Dungeons and Dragons. Unfortunately,
Would not recommend.
would not recommend, even for a level 15 character. That was pretty brutal.
Unless you've got a group of level 15 characters.
So, and that's the thing. I think a group of them
Yeah.
would have been okay because the action economy comes in.
Absolutely.
However, when it comes to the one-on-one, you never stood a chance, I'm afraid.
Oh, no,
and this is
absolutely.
just sadism for me to bring you up here and slaughter you in 2 rounds.
Yeah, well, as long as you're happy, Ian.
And that's all that matters. Keep it. No, like, keep your DMs and GMs happy. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I'm
much
gonna
for having me.
show this off to the camera for YouTube, and I know it's quite dark on there, and I will make sure that this goes onto the table over there for the people that are here today, but also social media pictures go up. But I am happy that mine is what I would call very quick, tabletop ready within the hour.
Yeah.
Hopefully people have learned something about the Pit Fiend. Hopefully those watching on YouTube have enjoyed learning something there as well. Maybe you've learned something about painting. Maybe you're going to get into it. I hope you do. It's a really addictive hobby that is a lot of fun. Falmouth Pavilion, thank you so much. This has been a delight to be here today, and the first of what is hopefully many live shows in the upcoming Dragonborn Industries saga. I can't wait for the cosplay contest, which I think is coming up soon in the next... is that next on?
Possibly.
I don't know what's next. I don't. But, guys, thank you so much. You've been wonderful. We'll see you tomorrow.